How's it going, guys? It's Ricecup here with another freestyle video. This is going to be the biggest freestyle video of all time because it's going to cover the biggest update of all time coming out soon. The new skill, the first ever new skill for Oldschool Runescape, coming out on the 19th of this month. So if you just heard it for the first time, mark that day on the calendar. It's really, really important. There's going to be a lot to talk about in this video. So we're going to be breaking it down into a few sections for those people that want to, use the timestamps. It will be in the video as well. So the first section I want to talk about is preparations. What kind of materials and maybe unlocks you should get if you really want to just have like a smooth sailing experience right off the bat. And the second topic is going to be covering the major rewards that you can get. And the last section is going to be talking about the 3 blogs in a bit more detail, a bit more long-winded format. But anyways, let's get on with the materials prep and miscellaneous prep for sailing first. So on the screen, you're going to see a giant spreadsheet. And this is made by someone named Figment, so credit to him. You can find the link to this spreadsheet in the description, and then you can make your own copy and edit it to whatever you want. But it's also separated into a few tabs. I think the most important tabs is going to be the sailing skill guide and the materials section. So the sailing skill guide is like, imagine you click on a fletching skill guide, the skill symbol in the game. It's going to open up all these things that you can unlock. So this is what this tab is about, the things that you can unlock. So like new areas, new types of boats, new types of upgrades on your boats, like a new cannon. But effectively, this shows you what materials you're going to need to make these upgrades. The lower level stuff will require things like regular logs, regular nails like bronze nails. And the higher tier stuff is going to require things like rune bars and stuff like that, the higher you go. So this tab is really good because it tells you exactly what you need for each of these specific upgrades related to sailing. And a lot of these you can prep right now. There's a few things that you're not going to be able to prep, such as the copper nickel bar, things like dragon sheets. Those are not available. A little side thing with the copper nickel bar is that you need copper to make this with the nickel that you can get from when sand comes out, a new type of metal. Besides material gathering, you can also definitely prep some skills that are going to be really helpful for sailing. Particularly, there's 2 I would say that would be construction and smithing, because those are going to be directly relevant to you upgrading your ship and also making things like cannonballs, which is pretty relevant and crucial to sailing. Additionally, there are some other skills that would support sailing, such as mining, woodcutting, farming as well, and to an extent fishing. But I would say I'm not 100% sure how necessary those are going to be, but it'll definitely be pretty important if you're an Iron Man, because there's a chance that you might have to plant those new trees and be able to cut the logs from that exclusively. But I think for every single person, if you do wish to get sailing pretty high, you definitely want fairly high smithing and fairly high construction, probably in the 70s and 80s. And then this is the material section. These are definitely like not accurate numbers. No one really knows how much of each material you're going to need, because there are certain things with sailing. I'll name a few things. So the first one is like cannonballs that you use for sailing to fight enemies in the ocean, and also repair kits. So these 2 things are a bit variable because we just don't know how much we're going to really need, for example. So a lot of these numbers are definitely going to be, I would say, very, very exaggerated. From what I can tell, a lot of these items that he put that are like insanely high numbers, such as like mithril nails and like mahogany planks, these are actually going to be because of these things called the repair kits, right? So when you are sailing, your ship will eventually get damaged and things like that. So you have to repair it. Now, I'll be honest with you, from my experience doing the sailing beta, I did not have to repair my ship a single time in 6 hours. But like I said, general rule, if you can get a few hundred of the logs, the planks, the nails of each type, and like the metal bars of each type, maybe not all the way 99, but at least it'll cover you to the point where you're like probably good with sailing. You're done for a while, There's some other things to keep in mind as well that I didn't mention. Things like the bolts of linen, bolt of cotton, canvas. Some of these are not available yet. Some of these like salts from the troll quest, you need a few of these as well. If you really want to go overboard, you can totally prep these as well. But this third tab covers all the other miscellaneous stuff. Things like sawmill vouchers from forestry, nature's offering from forestry are also pretty good, because the nature's offering, when you have it, you can basically get extra logs while you're cutting. So a lot of these new materials are trees, right, that you're gonna need to cut into logs and then turn to planks. So if you have stuff like the nature's offering, it'll make it a little bit faster. Sawmill vouchers, every time you plank a log, you'll get an extra. Jagex released, I guess, one of their last blogs leading up to sailing, and this one's called Preparing for Sailing. So a quick thing here: to start sailing for the first time, you're gonna go to Port Sarum and start a quest, which will take you to Pandemonium, and then there's a few quests there that will teach you how to do sailing, right? From like getting the boats, upgrading the boats, where to go for all these things, and just also give you some tasks to do so that you can get used to the mechanics of like the boat. So they confirmed some stuff that you're gonna need materials wise, but all these were pretty much confirmed during the beta, such as like the nails. It's all in the Figment spreadsheet table. Here, for example, the scale recs and the quest recs are a bit more handy. These are also kind of already known, but they put it all in one spot. So if you want to maximize all available content, that isn't necessarily just for training, you know, sailing. And also for quests, these are the quests that you should do. So that way you can explore all of the oceans and certain docks, because certain docks, for example, Lunar Diplomacy, if you want to dock at Lunar Isle, you're definitely not going to be able to do so without the quest requirement, even if you have the sailing level to get to the ocean. So some of the hardest ones are going to be Lunar Diplomacy, making friends with my arm, but everything else looks pretty easy. Oh, Song of the Elves, actually, there's a dock there. So if you want to dock at Elf City, that will arguably be like the hardest one to unlock. Sailing, when you first start, you're gonna have a very terrible looking boat, as you can see here, and the main forms of training at the start is going to be the port task, which is on the right here. So the port task comes in two forms. Basically, you can deliver cargo, or you can kill enemies in the ocean. So like you can kill sharks at the start if you want, or you just do cargo. So there's a non-combat and combat related portion. And then once you hit 15, you can actually get a new boat, and the new boat actually lets you build certain stations. So there's like a salvaging station that you can build, because then that unlocks like kind of like a treasure hunter aspect of sailing, where you basically park at like a wrecked boat and it'll like just pick up a bunch of loose materials that fell from the boat, and that's like kind of AFK. So that's like the AFK part. Also level 30, you have the Barracuda Trials. It's like speed run delivery cargo mini game kind of thing. And here's some other basics. So Pandemonium is the new place that you will go to first. It's like your first real sailing hub outside Port Sarum. You're going to be basically learning sailing through that area out in the waters. The captain's log is basically this book that keeps track of your activities, right? Like areas of interest have you discovered, and like what is your current port task. It's all in there. So all the information related to sailing will be in there. And in the major docks, there will be a boat management NPC. Basically, you can talk to him and you can like retrieve your boat if it's in a different location. You can also upgrade your boat and customize your boat, buy new tier boats from that guy as well. And Shipyard is basically the portal in the major hubs that you can go to upgrade your boats. Kind of like a player-owned house, you know, those like grayed out buildable spots. You can interact with it. And that would be like the construction component. They have described mid-game to be around level 30 to 55, and the fastest way to train is going to be the Barracuda Trials, like I said. So like in this area, you're basically trying to pick up all these like a cargo that got like spread throughout this area because of, you know, the Temporos being mad. Basically run a loop around this area and retrieve everything and deliver it to the other side, and it's going to be time gated. So the faster you can do it, the more XP you can get. And also, as you get higher level sailing, you can recruit members into your ship, right? So that way they can do additional things in a ship so that you don't have to. It'll be really, really useful for sure at the later stages, when they mentioned there will be a lot of more multitasking. If you want to do stuff like deep sea fishing at higher levels, you can shoot the enemy in the ocean, and you can have your crew member like move the boat for you as well, or vice versa, right? 45 sailing, you can start the Trouble Turdugan quest, because you'll be able to go to the new island called the Great Conch, which we'll cover more in the blog. These are some of the stats that you will need to complete some of these new quests in the Great Conch. So 45 sailing, 51 slayer, 40 construction, 45 hunter, 40 woodcutting, and 34 craft. I would say get these levels for sure, because I would think a lot of you guys should be able to work on this, and not like the level 70 and 80 stuff that they were mentioning above, right, on this page. So for regular accounts, you can basically buy everything in the GE, even the new stuff, although the new stuff will be probably extra expensive. So it's more like for the rich people, right? If you haven't already prepped some of the basic stuff that we mentioned, like the logs, the planks, the ore, nails, and bars, you should definitely do that now. For Hardcore Iron Man, regarding the death elements, if your boat sinks, you're not gonna die. It won't count as a death, but you will land in the port at 1 HP. So hopefully you're not poisoned or anything. Otherwise, you are fine. And for Ultimate Iron Mans, like I said, if you sink, you're not dead. Okay, you'll just be 1 HP. But the cargo on the ship, though, you're not gonna be able to hold as many things. So that way, I guess it still gives you that kind of Ultimate Iron Man limited inventory, limited space challenge. But they also recommend things like the forestry basket, log basket, and the plank sack. I will be going over all the rewards in more detail when I cover the blogs, but in this section, I'm going to quickly list a few things that really stand out as rewards that, you know, in my opinion, you should definitely keep an eye out on. So the first thing is food. So you're going to be able to access new food that heals you for the highest possible in the game. Marlin is 24 HP, and bluefin tuna is kind of like a substitute, I guess, to like anglerfish, 22 HP, and like manta rays. But yeah, 24 HP, that's huge. And also for Herblore, you will be able to make these things called Armadyl Brews. They're basically Ceratin brewers, but it gives you range levels. So that's going to be insane, especially for things like Armadyl, Inferno, right? Like Leviathan. Basically anything that you exclusively range or predominantly range, these Armadyl Brews are going to be a lot better than like your regular Ceratin brews. And let's talk about the blowpipes that you can get. So there's these new blowpipes. There is the camphor blowpipe, ironwood blowpipe, rosewood blowpipe. So these are basically craftable, I guess, fletchable versions of blowpipes, weaker than the toxic blowpipe. And they come in different tiers. Camphor is like the lowest tier, rosewood's the highest tier. But effectively, they'll be really nice alternatives, range weapons, right, that are actually pretty decent DPS. Especially for regular accounts, you can just straight up buy these, I'm guessing. But for Iron Man's, the rosewood blowpipe would be pretty good for the spec. It's like a really nice DPS spec, like a dragon knives. You also get all these new weapons and items as well. You got the Aquanite Hopper, so it's like, I guess, second or third BAS range shield in the game. Helps with crossbows especially, because it improves your bolt chance of proccing. You also have the Horn of Plenty. This is like a skilling offhand. You put it on, it gives you invisible hunter boost, and also increases your chance of getting an extra catch. But you do have to like charge it. But the Horn of Plenty is from the Gryphon Slayer monster, Aquanite Hoppers from Aquanites. You also get the Gleaming Rapier from the Gryphons as well. They are actually, this weapon is actually so good. Imagine Zombie Axe, except it's stab. But you're gonna have to fix it just like the Zombie Axe. But just imagine like getting this before TOA, right? Especially for those of you that have never done TOA and are very, very scared first-time PVMers. I think getting this will really improve your confidence. So let's cover the first blog, new notable areas, right? The Great Conch. So this place is one of the major islands that you will be discovering, and in it, you will be able to do a vast array of different skilling content. So on this very nice image here, you can see that there is woodcutting that shows you the new logs that you can woodcut. Some of these will be, or I guess they're going to be used for making ships and things like that, and also to make the blowpipes that I mentioned. There's also going to be new mining materials. A lot of these are going to be related to sailing, of course, to like upgrade your ships and make cannonballs, things like that. New hunter, so you can catch these like crabs, and new fishing spots for the fish that I mentioned, but there's also combo food, I think, as well. But yeah, hunter, you get these crabs, and these crabs can be used to make cooking and Herblore stuff as well. And also, you have a new Calquat patch in this area, so way cool, man. And also, you can farm coral. coral is going to be used to make things like the potions, like the Armadyl Brew that I mentioned earlier. And we're going to talk about the lore here. So new Tortugan quest. So the Tortugans are like these turtle people, right? They can talk and, you know, fantasy shit. And these guys, you know, live in peace. And then the Gryphons, they're like, I don't know, they're like cats or something, you know? They just want to fuck shit up. But yeah, these guys are always at beef. Well, you're going to have to do these quests and kind of like earn their respect by helping them out, right? By defeating these Gryphons, right? So these Gryphons, like I mentioned, are the Slayer monsters that drop some pretty sick stuff. So, and there's going to be a lot of other smaller islands that they're not going to be explaining in depth because, of course, it would be boring if we knew every little thing, right? So these islands, a lot of these small islands are going to contain additional resources. This one here, you guys might not like to hear, but they're going to add a lot of additional quests with sailing. So not just the two that I mentioned, there's going to be a bunch of other smaller quests. But don't worry, none of these quests are like big time, you know, crunch quests. They're all very simple quests to kind of just expand the lore of the ocean, I guess, and just kind of like, you know, give some personality to all these new ocean areas that you're going to be visiting. You know how like IRL, right? There's like the Atlantic, Pacific Ocean, things like that. So here's the deal. When sailing first comes out, not every single ocean is going to be available because as you see here in this part, he says, at launch, we aim to have ardent, unquiet, shrouded western and northern oceans available, as well as parts of the Sunset Ocean. To put this into perspective, the Sailing Alpha only included the ardent and unquiet oceans, with playable content capped at 30. We'll do the math for you. The playable area that launches with sailing will be massive with plenty of room for future expansions. So they listed like what, 4 or 5 oceans, and what I can see in this map here is that there's like at least 8 oceans. So basically a bit over half of the oceans are going to be available when sailing launches. I believe there's like a 2-year commitment to like put out the rest or something by then. Another thing to note is that some of these oceans are going to be much more treacherous. So that is kind of how it's going to encourage you to upgrade your boats, because if your boat sucks, your boat's going to get damaged a lot more going into some of these, you know, harsher waters. And lastly, on the first blog, they also mentioned the new hybrid training method, deep sea trawling. So you will go out into the ocean to catch fish, and there is going to be a process, as you can see here in this image here. You got the first step, tracking down the shoalfish with the sonar orb. Step 2, spread some special bait like the chum to increase your, I guess, fishing odds. And then step 3, navigate over a shoal, deploy your trawler net, and just chill in there. Number 4, gather fish in your net to receive both fishing and sailing XP. So that's going to be like a decent way to combo train sailing and fishing together. And number 5, once the shoal is depleted, you can move on to find a new shoal. Return to port with your haul of fish. As you level up and venture into deeper parts of the sea, you'll encounter higher tier shoals that introduce more complex gameplay, new hazards to contend, but also rare fish. Some of the new fish to be introduced include giant krill, haddock, yellowfin, tuna, halibut, bluefin, and marlin. So some of these I mentioned will be giving you the highest HP heal like the marlin, and I guess some additional effects too. I believe combo eating is one of the other effects as well. So the components of deep sea fishing, like the trawling and stuff, you will be able to get different tiers of it. So like rope, linen, hemp, cotton. So a lot of these will be available once you start sailing and you unlock the new areas to effectively harvest these materials, right? The sonar orb is another thing you can build on your ship, and there's only 2 types, but the first one gives general direction and the second one gives you a hint arrow directly over the shoal. So that's going to be really nice. So when you are catching fish using this method, you will catch a variety of things. And a lot of the lower level ones, they're saying, hey, look, you can do something with that. You can turn them into baits. So that way, none of it goes to waste. And there's like different tiers. And then you can also get offcuts from the new fish that you will be fishing. Although I don't think marlin and bluefin, you really want to turn these into offcuts, aka like your baits for deep sea fishing. And finally, the shoals. As you progress into deeper parts of the sea, you'll encounter a higher tier of shoals that introduce more complex and rewarding gameplay, but beware, the deeper out the sea, the more potential danger to your boat and crew. Team coordination will become super important at these higher levels. The learning curve will be gradual. You know, you're not going to be like instantly struggling to learn how to catch fish in the deep water, you know, in the early levels. So we are now going to cover the second blog, the resources and skilling activities poll. So this one is the biggest blog, the biggest info dump of all time. Let's get right to it. So the first thing they're talking about is the vote for the sailing skill cape. So that's already happened, and let me see here. Gentle Tractor has won. This guy's a legend. So there's a lot of hybrid training methods with sailing. The first blog, you know, showed you the fishing part. There's also a lot of other things like woodcutting, fire making that you will be able to unlock content-wise. New mining ores too. Fishing we already mentioned. Hunter, crab hunting expeditions. Farming, you get coral nurseries and new crops. Crafting and fletching, fabrics and blowpipes. Herblore and cooking, potions and foods. Smithing and construction, shipbuilding essentials, cannons too. Sailing or range base. Okay, so that's not necessarily a hybrid part of the skilling, but that is an important topic. Utility skills, constructing your sailing experience. And also another skill that you can train as you unlock sailing is thieving, pirate plunder, and merchant stalls. So I guess they just want you to be able to like combo sailing with a bunch of different skills, and that's cool with me. I'm good with that. So let's talk about woodcutting, fire making, and more. So you will have access to new trees. These are the 4 trees here: the jabota logs, the camphor, the ironwood logs, and the rosewood logs. So for the most part, all of these are going to be used to make your ships. And you can also do other things with it as well. But the main thing is to make your ships. So jabota is like the lowest level tier. Rosewood's like the highest level tier. And you can see the levels here. To cut them, you can do them for fire making, you can do them for fletching, and you can do them for construction. So the construction aspect will be to build your ships, okay? And the fletching aspect is going to be to make things like the blowpipe that I mentioned. So now we cover the mining section. So the new things that you can mine are lead, rubium splinters, rubium geodes, and nickel. So on here, you can get an idea of like, why should you mine this? Besides just obviously, you know, upgrading your ship. So all these are used to upgrade your ship. But lead is slightly higher XP per hour than iron rocks outside the mining guild. Less XP per hour than iron rocks inside the mining guild. So basically, if you want to power mine train, you can mine lead up until mining guild. Now you have rubium. 2 variants of mining unlocked at different levels. Neither method has a focus on XP. Rubium splinters being the main resources to create incendiary cannonballs, ships only. So the rubium, yeah, it's mainly for the combat aspect of sailing. When you kill like sharks and enemies in the ocean, it is somewhat AFKable, though it's like similar to Inferno shell deposits in the Chasm of Fire. It's slower, more AFK alternative for less splinters and XP per hour than mining splinters. Geodes can be smashed into splinters with a hammer, quantity scaling with mining levels. So there is a more active method of mine rubium, and there is a giga AFK method because the Inferno shell is like, I forgot, it's like 5 to 10 minute AFK or something, but it's like giga slow though. That is the trade-off. And then you have nickel, mine similar to Painter in Motherlow or Baronite in Camduzel. Focus is on nickel as a resources. For copper nickel, reasonably AFK below XP per hour than Motherlow. Should be profitable. Higher level version of lead used in shipbuilding. So yeah, this is basically another Motherlow Mine 2.0 if you are gunning for XP. But again, I think the idea behind these two things, these two ore, is more so to function for sailing training rather than mining training. But this is actually a pretty solid mining training, the lead, in the early stages. Now we move on to fishing, lantern fishing, and deep sea fishing. So we've already talked a lot about deep sea fishing, so I'm not gonna go over that too much. But the blue marlin, though, one of the most noble foods, is 91 fishing. So now we're gonna see if we can find something called lantern fishing. Here we go. All right, lantern fishing. Master the art of deep sea harpooning by lantern light, and you can catch rare squid varieties for use in new recipes and weapons. So we have the sword tip squid and the jumbo squid. And the deep sea trawling, like I said, we've already covered the fact that there's going to be different trawling net types. And basically, the higher tier will correspond with the higher tier fish that you're going to be fishing. These are different fishes that you'll be able to catch, from giant krill, hot dog, tuna, yellowfin tuna, halibut, bluefin tuna, and marlin. God damn, reminds me of Stardew Valley. Anyways, let's go on to hunter, which is crab hunting expedition. So how does this work? You place your traps at set locations and you bait them with a fish offcut. Tasty. So the fish offcut I mentioned earlier, right? That you can make from pretty much any fish after sailing. This is what it's gonna be for. I guess that also implies for chum as well, though. I think chum is also just where you put the fish offcuts too. After a set amount of time, crabs will make a dash for the bait trap. Red and blue crabs will move after 15 ticks, and rainbow crabs will move after 25 ticks. With precise timing, you can achieve smooth cycles of setting, baiting, and harvesting traps, resulting in consistent hunter XP. There's 3 types of crabs. 21 hunter is red crabs, 48 is blue, and 77 is rainbow crabs. And what are they for? You can cook them for food, or you can use them to make new potions for Herblore. Each type of crab offers a unique culinary delight and opportunity to create specialized pastes useful in Herblore recipes. I believe the rainbow one will be for the things like Armadyl Brews. And also, I think you need coral or something to make some of these in combination. So I think how this works with the 2 ticks manual and 3 ticks automatic is that when you catch a crab, your character will automatically put the trap down, and that's 3 ticks. But if you click on the trap again, I guess it'll just be a bit faster, 2 ticks. All right, let's go to farming. So coral nurseries and new crops. Okay, so I was right. There is going to be farming involved for the new woods that you're going to be needing for sailing, making your boats and stuff like that, and I guess making the blowpipe if you're an Iron Man. So you are able to farm some new things called coral. You can also grow some new hop patches, and of course the hardwood, like I mentioned. Let's talk about the hardwood trees since we already mentioned it. So camphor 66, ironwood's 80, rosewood's 92. So yeah, they're fairly high farming levels, guys. So you see these flax, hemp, and cotton. These are used to make the trawler nets, right, for deep sea fishing, for sailing. And the coral, I believe that's going to be for Herblore, as you can see here. Yeah, harvest the coral, which we'll use for as Herblore. And I mentioned things like the Armadyl Brews. I don't know. I'm just so excited for these Armadyl Brews. It's pretty sick. But yeah, you're going to go underwater and you're going to be able to grow a lot of these corals. So that's pretty sick. And these are the growth times for the corals, 2 hours and 40 minutes. The trawler things, right, like the hemp seed, cotton seed, these will require about an hour and 40 minutes, or anywhere from an hour to an hour and 40 minutes, depending on the tier. So cotton is an hour and 40. And you can also see the average yield here. So we're going to have to figure out where to best get these, like which enemies will drop, these seeds, or if there's another way to get these fragments too, for like coral as well. So that'd be interesting. Same with the freaking tree seeds. Like, I wonder what will be the best place to get these seeds. All right, let's go to crafting and fletching, which is fabrics and blowpipes. So the trawler stuff, right, the net, flax and hemp, cotton, they also have crafting levels. You can use it also to make ship sails. Right, I haven't mentioned that yet, but yes, a big part of like your ship construction, or I guess upgrades, is going to be the sails, of course. And here's the fletching part that you can do as well with the new hardwood trees. So camphor, you can make a plus 12 range attack, 2 range strength blowpipe, and the ironwood logs, it's 16 attack, 4 range strength, and then rosewood is 22 range attack, 6 strength. So none of them is remotely as strong as the blowpipe, but the rosewood, like I said, has a pretty sick special attack. It is 25% special energy, so you can spam it a lot, 4 times in a row. Fires 2 darts in rapid succession, 20% reduce actually, and 10% increase damage. So a lot of damage potential here. Can fire up to 80 darts. So it'll be like a pretty good mid-tier spec weapon for range. Now we're going to be covering the Herblore section. So there's a handful of new potions that you can make. Some of these you will need the crab paste or like the coral, or actually some of the miscellaneous items that you get from fishing in deep sea fishing, because I see the hot dog eye and the yellow tuna fin, marlin scales. Anti-odor salt. Stackable salt that is automatically consumed to smoke a hunter trap when setting one up. I guess that's just to increase the odds of, you know, the animal going in. So that should be pretty nice for just general purpose hunter training, like I guess even chins, right? Anti-bleed tonic. Cures bleed and heals 5 HP if bleed was cured. Does not prevent reapplication. Ooh, this could be pretty good for things like for Norvis. Yeah, what else does bleeds? I think there's like one other boss nowadays that does some pretty frequent bleeding. You have super fishing potion. It's a bit overkill, I guess, but yeah, it's nice. You get fishing boost by 6. And you have the extreme energy potion, restores 40% run energy. Self-explanatory. Super hunter potion, boosts hunter by 6. Self-explanatory. I guess if you're bougie, I feel like this is mainly going to be for regular players that can buy this, because it might be too much work, honestly, actually using this. But like extended stamina potions, so 70% reduction in run energy depletion for 4 minutes, up from 2 minutes for a regular stamina. Each dose adds 2 charges to rain endurance and consumes 2 charges. You know, I would love these stamina potions, but the problem is, man, I feel like you just don't use run energy all that much anymore. They kind of killed it. Now, the big one, Armadyl Brews. Heals hit points for 10% plus 2, same as a Armadyl Brews, if I recall, and raises range level by 10% plus 4. That is so nice, because effectively that would be 9 plus 4, right? Like it's like 13 range or 14 range into your main stat. Yeah, it's like basically a range potion, except it also heals you, right? But of course, it reduces the other combat stats by a percentage, but not a big deal, because when you use things like brews, you always have like restores. One of the biggest weaknesses with brews is that if you over brew, you're offensively really weak when it comes to like ranging, right? But the thing is, you're not going to be offensively weak. You can like chug at like Armadyl or at like Nex, and you can just pump out DPS like nothing happened. It's so crazy. These brews are going to be nuts. But yeah, you need Umber Coral and Rainbow Crab Paste. So that means the new farming and the new hunter stuff to make these Armadyl Brews. But yeah, I'm definitely very keen on the Armadyl Brews. Absolutely. Anyways, now we're going to talk about the foods. You have the new red crabs that heals 8. And then it goes all the way to Marlin of 24, of course. And some additional things about some of these foods is haddock can overheal up to 10 hit points. So it's like a mid-tier anglerfish. Pretty cool. And you also have the halibut can be used as combo food, ignoring the normal eat delay like Caramblon. And it's stronger than Caramblon's. Combo eat 20 instead of the 18 from Caramblon. So this is going to be like a very well sought after food, especially for like PK and stuff. You also have the bluefin tuna, which is also really interesting. Restores 5 prayer points per bite. Wow, that's actually really good. Honestly, I might be using the bluefin, maybe even a bit more than the marlin, right? Just because I think heal for inventory space, this is more bang for your buck, honestly, the bluefin tuna, at least for PVMing. The food definitely stands out. Now we're going to talk about smithing and construction. So these are pretty important, arguably one of the most important sub skills that you'll need to focus on when training sailing, because they definitely place quite the emphasis on upgrading your ship so that they can do things like tackling stronger waves, like deeper, more dangerous oceans, right? And from beta testing, the cannonballs that you make to fight enemies in the ocean, which is like part of the core training that you can do for sailing the active way, they're a pretty big deal. Like the dragon cannonball, for example, is so much stronger than like the regular cannonball, like steel, aka. But But yeah, it's pretty big deal. So definitely focus on construction and smithing, guys, if you haven't already. If they're low and you really want to train sailing high, you definitely need to pump those numbers up. These things called keel parts, so that's used to construct the ship, like the metal frames and shit like that. So 5 of each bar equals 1 keel, and I believe you do need a large keel, I guess, to construct something. So effectively 1 large keel is 25 bars each, right? But the thing is, there's not like an insane amount of boat upgrades that you can do, right? There's quite a few, so that's why I said you just need a few hundred of each bars, because I think you'll probably be good. Now there might be 1 bar you might need more than a few hundred, maybe 1,000, because aside from building your ship, right, you're gonna be making these cannonballs for combat training. I guess you don't need to do the combat missions if you don't want to for sailing training. That's your choice, but it might be one of the best training methods, right? So if you do end up doing like the combat with the cannon, right, for your missions to train sailing, then yeah, you might need to get 1,000 of some bar, like maybe adamant or rune or something, you know, depending on how bougie you are. The metal bars are going to be used to make the cannonballs and to upgrade your ship. And there will be a improved way to cannonball smith, but you do need 81 sailing to get there to unlock it. But effectively, you will be able to make 1 set of cannonballs from 8 ticks to 4 ticks. So it's twice as fast. Really, really good. But of course, you just can't access it unless you put in the work of 81 sailing. So the cannonballs will be split up into 2 flavors, as they say. There's the chain shot cannonball that will stop the enemy from moving. And then you have the incendiary cannonball that will also do a burn effect. But their base damage is the same as the basic cannonball. The cannonballs that we have in Oldschool Runescape right now, they will be classified as steel cannonballs once Sailing comes out. And then, you know, you'll have the different metal bars that can make the different types of cannonballs. Now, these cannonballs are going to be used for sailing. The steel cannonball can be used for both, I guess, you know, regular dwarf multi-cannon use, right, for your normal stuff, and then also for sailing. Cannon, sailing, or range base. The cannon in the ship, if you personally fire it, the player fires it, right, you will get sailing XP and range XP. What about someone that's a skiller? They don't want range XP. Well, that's okay, because when you are sailing, right, you have crewmates, or you can get crewmates, and then you can have the crewmates do certain parts of the sailing experience. So you can literally get a crewmate to shoot for you. And if the crewmate shoots for you, then guess what? You don't get range XP. So you're good as a skiller. But everybody else, of course, you know, you're fine. You could get some nice range XP cross-platform training, so that's pretty sick. Now we move on to the construction aspect of sailing. So just like smithing being such an integral part to the sailing experience, so is construction, because a large part of your boat is going to be built using wood, right? The hardwoods, I've talked about that to death, but you get the idea. You need high construction if you want to make the best ship to tackle the, you know, the deepest waters for the best like fishes, you know, things like that, right? So 80 for construction is for rosewood planks, and I guess that's like the highest tier. It is going to be 53 for camphor and 77 for ironwood. So definitely, guys, if you haven't already busted some construction levels, if you do plan to go far, you need at least 84. Okay, so you also have access to some new thieving things. So you have pirates that you can pickpocket. You have these pirate chests. I guess they're going to be spread out through maybe different islands that we have not yet figured out, but there's 3 tiers: rusty, tarnished, and reinforced. 33, 54, 76 thieving. You also have your regular basic stalls that already exist, like vegetable stall, I think exists already. Self stall, fish stall, you know. I think the most interesting ones are definitely going to be the pirates, the new pickpocketable enemies, and their chests, because they drop a lot of like stuff related to sailing, so that could really help out, right? While you're training thieving, you can get some coral fragments to grow your corals, right? To make your new potions and stuff, so that's really good. Also, you have the cannonball stall. That's a new thing. You can get up to bronze and rune cannonballs. Depending on how good the XP is, this could be like a really good way to get cannonballs. They're not like insanely good thieving XP, I guess, but that's okay because, you know, the pyre stuff, the cannonball stall, these can be really good for getting a little bit of XP for thieving and, you know, setting you up for sailing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to cover the final blog, which is called The Sailing Creatures, Unique Drops, and More. We have the Gryphon. So if you watched earlier, these guys are like the nemesis to the Tortugans, the turtle people, but they require 51 Slayer to kill. They drop a few things. The Gryphon feathers, they're the charge items that you're going to use for the Horn of Plenty. And there's also a boss version. The Horn of Plenty is the Hunter offhand. Yeah, you can just wear this while you're training Hunter. It's pretty nice. You get the passive Hunter boost. +4 again if you charge it. The Horn of Plenty has an additional effect. There's a 1 in 10 chance to double Hunter catch. The extra catch does not give you extra XP, but it'll be really good. Like, let's say you're catching chins, right? It's just nice to get more chins faster. But it does use up a feather every time it happens. So we now have the boss version, the Shellbane Gryphon. So why would you want to kill the boss version? I guess there's probably a pet involved because it's a, you know, it's a Slayer boss. Every Slayer boss has like a pet. But another thing is that it drops the Gleaming Rapier. So at first I thought I could get it from like the regular version, but no, you have to get it from the boss. And you can only fight the boss on a Slayer task, just like pretty much every Slayer boss, right? Proper Slayer boss, you have to be on task. So getting this Rapier is not going to be the easiest thing ever, but you know, we all do Slayer and we all know what it's like to have to get a task to, you know, kill something like a Thermi, right? For the Occult Necklace. But yeah, it drops this Rapier, and this Rapier is really good. It is the zombie axe of stab, so really, really nice. Especially, like I said, for people that want to do TOA, they're kind of like, they want something fresh, you know, to start their TOA progression, or they're just new to PVM and they're scared. And yeah, I think if you get this weapon, for example, holy shit, a TOA, even in like the 300, will not be an issue when it comes to like, you know, fighting stuff like Baba, you know, Kefri. Like, this thing should shred the crap out of those bosses. This battle is sure to be anything but a breeze. Pay close attention to where you're standing. So it's going to be one of those bosses where you got to move around. If that isn't challenging enough, its salivary glands are capable of delivering corrosive spit. Keep your skin covered, preferably with something tanky. It might be another Perilous Moons angle where, you know, you should do some barrels and get some tankier. I'm cool with that, you know, anything to make barrels relevant, right? I think that's a winner. All right, let's just say that Sunburn is going to be the least of your worries. Basically, just zombie axe, but stab, right? So you have 100 stab. And remember, you don't get the actual completed item. You get like a broken version or something, a tarnished state. So you do need 70 smithing and Giant's Foundry to fix it. Remember that. Like I said, there's the pet as well. One last thing I forgot to mention is that you need 45 sailing to get to the Great Conch. So that will be, you know, the other requirement to actually fight the Gryphons. And now we're going to be moving down to Aqua Knights. So to get to this new place, you need 73 sailing. And Aqua Knights are existing creatures from the other game. They're kind of OG in my opinion. But yeah, 78 Slayer requirements. You can get them from Neve or Duradel. And you can extend them to up to 200. But the main thing you're going to be killing these guys for is the Aqua Knight Hopper. It's a level 60 range shield. Arguably second, or I guess third best in slot. Probably second best in slot if we're talking about using it with a crossbow, because it does have a passive effect. It provides a 10% chance for crossbow to fire twice. Second bolt has a 67% reduced damage accuracy and enchanted bolt activation chance. Only one enchanted bolt can activate per attack. So like if you fire that second attack, it's like a ruby bolt, instead of doing like the maximum damage, right, it'll be like 33%. So let's say you hit 100 the base and the second hit hits, it's like a 33, I guess. Still really good though, right, if it activates. So you're definitely gonna want this, or it'll be like a decent consideration just because it does have 12 range and 1 range strength in general, right? So even if you're not using a crossbow, it'll still be pretty sick. But but especially with, you know, your rubies and your diamonds situations. Like, I guess if you're doing something like Sarah, maybe Armadyl, maybe, right? I guess even like Inferno if you're doing like crossbow Zuck for whatever reason. Anyways, we're gonna do lava strike worms now. You need 60 sailing to access this place, and these guys are Slayer creatures. 62 Slayer. They don't drop anything too crazy. Oh, but this is going to be pretty important for high level sailing because they drop dragon sheets, which is used to make, you know, high level ships. And they also drop their bones, 60 per XP when buried. And I don't think you need to be on task to kill these guys, thankfully. You just gotta, you know, get the Slayer level and the sailing level. And you have the other enemy you can fight, Frost Dragons, 87 sailing. So Frost Dragons is from the other game as well. Instead of dungeoneering level, it's sailing level. So, but these guys are not true Slayer creatures. You can get them assigned as a Slayer creature though, which will, you know, give you the Slayer XP. But they also drop dragon sheets, which is really nice. So I guess you can pick between this or this to farm for dragon sheets. So maybe if you're looking to train some really good prayer, right? Frost Dragon bones are famous for their insane XP per bone, 100 base. That's used to be an insane moneymaker back in the day. Basically, you can combo some nice prayer training and getting some upgrades for your ship. And here's a miscellaneous part to this blog. Sailing pet vote. I believe the turtle won. And Maxcape clarification. We explained that players will lose the ability to use Maxcape when sailing launches. This was met with generally positive responses, but we didn't provide specifics. When sailing launches, you will still own your Maxcape. However, it won't be equipable until you have remaxed. If you're wearing it when you next log in, it will be unequipped automatically. If you own a cosmetic variant of the Maxcape, Inferno Maxcape for example, you will be able to dismantle it. So that means, guys, you don't have to go and redo Inferno if you don't want to. I've covered everything that we know of so far, from the prep to what is coming out. Now, if I've missed anything you think was important, or you have anything else to add in general, feel free to leave in the comments. Or if you have some questions still, you can always chat me up in the French chat under Mr. Ironbar. Or you can join the clan if you just need some buddies to do some sailing with. I'm also on Twitch all the time, so link is all in the descriptions as well for all that stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the new skill. I know I will. I'm a big exploration guy. Sailing's all about that, so hopefully you guys will give it a chance.